Welcome back, NUIC football fanatics. We're here to bring you our round 2 playoff predictions. Last week, Shane, we had quite an interesting matchup as we had 4 upsets there in the first round. You take a look, the biggest one that I saw for sure was the Salt Fork win over Stockton. What do you think about that 43-42 win with 50 points there in the fourth quarter?
Well, we definitely made fools out of ourselves on our prediction last week, saying Stockton would just run right through them and pass all over the field. But, Salt Fork was definitely the more physical team, which is something we pointed to all year at Stockton. They played a cupcake of a schedule, we'll put it. Not a lot of competition, so when they got up against a tough team that really came at them, Stockton really didn't know how to handle themselves as far as that goes. So it was an upset, but it wasn't in terms of them not being able to handle a team that we thought would pose a threat to them.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the high-scoring, high-octane offense that Stockton had. They still put up 42 points. Granted, it took them until the fourth quarter where they finally poured on 28 points, as they did outscore Salt Fork there, 28-22, in what was a hellacious fourth quarter. But really, Salt Fork was still in control of that game right from the beginning, as they just dominated Stockton off the line of scrimmage. And you're absolutely right as far as we've said it all year, that once Stockton faced a team that could play physically with them, they would go down, and unfortunately that's what happened here in round 1.
Right.
Next one wasn't really an upset pick. It was more of a toss-up, really, but I was really surprised by the score. Was the Carrollton over Camp Point Central game, as Carrollton won that game 46-0 in a matchup of WIVC teams.
Right. Carrollton was the 9 seed coming in against the 8 seed. You're already on the road. I picked Carrollton to win, but, we definitely didn't see a score coming out that much. So, now Carrollton will get Tuscola at home. Another game that they're probably not matched up well against, but, you got the number 1 seed coming home. Pretty easy to get motivated for this one.
Yeah, and really, it seems like Camp Point had a problem with Carrollton's spread offense, which they alluded to early in the season, that they weren't very good at defending the pass, and I know that they had some key injuries that could have played some results to this game. But yeah, Carrollton, I was really surprised that score wasn't a little bit closer. Third upset that we had that we actually both picked was Bridgeport Red Hill over Decatur Lutheran, as Red Hill won that game 20-7. Not really sure what transpired in that game. Haven't really taken much effort into looking up the stats on that game, but good to see that score there. And then, of course, Warrensburg Latham over Argento Oriana 32-30. I know in that game Warrensburg was down by 10 with a little over 2 minutes to go and came back to win that game.
What a comeback there. I picked Argento to win, but I know you weren't alone in picking Warrensburg, so it was another game that was a complete toss-up, so good job on that pick.
All right. So, now, Shane, we're down to 16 teams going into round 2, and here's the breakdown. You have 10 teams from 3 different conferences. You have 4 from the NUIC left, in which all 4 play in different games this week with Dakota, Aquin, Lena Winslow, and Forreston. You have 3 from the Central Illinois Conference in Tuscola, Warrensburg, Latham, and St. Teresa, and all 3 of them are in different games. And then you got 3 from the WIVC in Carrollton, Hardin, Calhoun, and Brown County, and they're all playing in different games. Odds are pretty good right now, just looking at, granted, it's only round 2, but odds are good that your state championship's going to be a team out of one of these 3 conferences.
Right. When you're not matched up against each other, it gives you a great chance. We've always, up in this part of the state, been pissed off at the quadrant system. You finally get out of that, where if all 4 teams advance this week, you'll have a NUIC representative at state.
Yeah. The only thing that I want to let people know is don't overlook Athens in the south coming out of the Sangamo Conference, and don't overlook LeRoy. I think LeRoy is going to be able to match up with Aquin. I'm not saying that LeRoy can get to state. They've been hammered by their top 3 teams in their conference, but they're going to give Aquin a good run. All right, our first game's going to take us to Ottawa, where they Ottawa Marquette Crusaders come in as the number 1 seed, and they play host to the number 8 seed Dakota Indians. Dakota comes in this game with a 7-3 record after they beat Polo last week 42-21. And Marquette comes in with the perfect 10-0 record after they narrowly escaped Milledgeville with a 9-6 victory there. In this matchup, how do you see this playing out here, Shane?
Well, there's a couple of things you got to wonder. Did Milledgeville play the game of their lives? Did Ottawa Marquette not have a good game? I know they had an injury to their star halfback. That's very crucial in the outcome. And then you also got to wonder which Dakota team is going to show up moving forward. Milledgeville gave Ottawa Marquette everything they could handle, and wouldn't that have been something if Dakota and Milledgeville met up again? But that's not the case. If Ottawa is true to how they played Saturday, I see Dakota going to Ottawa Marquette and handily taking care of the Crusaders. But we know that that is not always the case with this Dakota team.
Well, that's kind of what I have wrote down myself. Dakota needs to be ready to go. We've seen too many highs and too many lows in various weeks. You look at week 3, they were up for Forreston despite losing. Week 5, they were down for Lena and got hammered. Week 6, they were up for EPC. And then week 9, it's like, yeah, they pulled out a win over Galena, but they were still down, in my opinion, because they let a Galena team hang with them.
Well, and it even carried over into the first half against Polo. Now, I know Dakota was out without Winger, and when he came back at halftime, it was like a completely different team game. Had he played the whole game, who knows, maybe Dakota clocks Polo. I mean, he had that much of an effect on the game. But Dakota started really slow against Polo. They're down 14-6 at half, and you could just see their heads hanging like, oh no, here we go again.
That's something that they need to work on, and that's where they need to be ready to go. I mean, it's the playoffs. Come on.
Right.
You have to be up
get
for
up
the playoffs. They have faced some adversity this year with different things going on, extracurricular activities that cannot continue to happen in order for Dakota to be successful moving forward. They're going to need to play hard off the line against Marquette. Really what Dakota's going to need to do is focus on their fullback. Their fullback's going to lead the play for Marquette as their run option team. And they're a little bit bigger in size than Dakota, but I don't think they're faster than Dakota.
Right, and I'm not too concerned with that. It seems like Marquette's strengths also play into the strengths of Dakota's defense. This isn't a team that's going to hit you up for 8 yards underneath, because the team that does that against Dakota will beat them. Dakota cannot defend the pass, and luckily this week, Ottawa Marquette is a power-running team, and that plays right into the hands of Dakota.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more there. And for Dakota on offense, they're really going to need to mix it up. They're going to have to have a very well balanced with their pass and run offense, because that Marquette is going to solely focus on shutting down Winger.
Right.
Everybody knows you shut down Winger, you shut down Dakota. Well, it's not always the case as long as certain people step up for Dakota, like Matt Holste, Cade Meyer, Brock Duncan, those guys getting themselves involved in the offensive schemes.
Right, and that's something that has improved as the season's gone on. Dakota is able to pass the ball more now than they have in the past. They didn't dial it up too much in the first half, but when they needed to in the second half, it was 50-yard touchdown pass like nothing. So, Dakota can pass the ball. It's just they prefer not to if they don't need to.
Yeah, and as long as Dakota contain the fullback up the middle and keep outside containment against Ottawa Marquette, I don't see where Marquette is going to be able to run very efficiently against Dakota. And as long as Dakota gets that offense going, I can see them pulling this game out.
Right, and I would agree with that. And another kid that didn't get quite enough credit yesterday, and without him, Hunter Knox on the outside is crucial to, pushing things towards the sidelines. He had a heck of a game, and he's just as important as the rest of them as to that Dakota defense.
Yeah, I think Dakota will win this game.
Me too.
What do you think?
I'll take him.
Our next game is going to take us about 3.5 hours south to LeRoy, where the number 12 seeded Panthers will host the number 4 seeded Aquin Bulldogs. Aquin comes in this game with a 9-1 record after their 52-13 win over Oakwood, and LeRoy comes in with a 7-3 record after they beat Kirkland Hiawatha last week 40-12. I really think Aquin has a good shot of making some noise in this game as long as they come ready to play a physical ball game with LeRoy.
Right. And that's something that we've agreed with a little bit. Aquin's not a real bruiser of a team as far as running the ball. They like to mix things up a little bit. Short passes, King up the middle seems to be pretty effective for Aquin. But as far as this game goes, they're going to have to continue that if they want to see success against LeRoy. LeRoy's played pretty tough competition. Yeah, they were outscored, 85-2 in their losses against. They didn't beat a playoff team, but the fact that they didn't necessarily get running clocked by the upper echelon of the 2A teams tells you that this is a team that can do some damage in 1A. So Aquin will have their hands full. It's just whether or not that they're going to be able to move the ball effectively.
Well, and that's the thing with LeRoy, too. You know that they can do some damage. Their coach down there is very good. They went to the semifinals last year in a season where they weren't supposed to even get that far. Similar to this year, they were 6-3 entering the playoffs. They're 6-3 entering the playoffs again this year as well.
That was a semifinal team last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And LeRoy wants to run the ball. There's no doubt about it. They'll pass the ball a little bit, but they're not very efficient at it. They have a fullback that's pretty good, and he's kind of a hard charger. I would gauge LeRoy to be somewhat physical. I wouldn't put them in the upper echelon of the NUIC physical, but I wouldn't put them at the bottom either.
Right, but Aquin hasn't faced the upper echelon of the physical NUIC, so that is something that you have to be aware of at least. Might not cause any problems for the Bulldogs, but that has to be a little concerning, the fact that they haven't really played a very physical team to this point.
Right. And my key for success for Aquin is their pass game. LeRoy is susceptible to the pass. They're not very good at defending it. In order for Aquin to win this game, not only will they need to be well balanced with Tuscola and King, but really Jonah Deemer is going to have a big game at quarterback. He's going to have to be able to throw the ball well, and he's going to have to rely on Gustafson, Carlson, and Cummins to make some big plays for them, and they're going to need to be able to catch them balls that they may shy away from with contact coming and hang on to them balls.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. For me, that as far as this goes, Aquin's passing game will end up being what can help them win this game.
Yeah, I do like Aquin in this game too.
And also, it might be a 4 seed versus a 12 seed, but I think that for me, Aquin winning this game is almost an upset to some people, but I think the Bulldogs have what it takes to win.
I do. I do as well. Okay, now we're going to head over to Forreston.
Ooh, buddy.
Yes. Stark County comes to town as the number 7 seed with a 7-3 record after they beat Westminster Christian 35-14. And Forreston comes in with the number 2 seed and a perfect 10-0 record after they beat Luther North 67-0. What a game that was.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Yeah, I think I spent more time talking about the Cubs in the second half than I did about football in the first half. But God bless the Cubs. They suck. But needless to say, this is the 4th time in the last 5 seasons that Forreston and Stark County have squared off in the playoffs. And they're also the last 2 years North representative in the state finals.
Yeah, definitely something that has become accustomed to both of them getting their schedules and thinking, hey, when are we seeing Forreston, when are we seeing Stark County?
Who's going to state?
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't jump on that train quite yet, at least as far as Stark County goes. Forreston, if you want to jump on the Forreston train to state, they'll take you. That might be exactly where they're headed.
Yeah, Stark County's not the same Stark County they were last year. Yeah, we know at the beginning of the season, everybody, including ourselves, had Stark County ranked number 1 preseason. Yeah. And they have a lot of returning starters, which are still playing, and great. But they've made some changes. Groder's not the quarterback now after suffering a shoulder injury. They have their junior quarterback in Cade Tuttle in there. Wyatt Shoop is not Johnston by any means in the backfield. Their linebacking core, the 4 guys that were linebackers last year and really shut down opponents' run games, they're all graduated.
They're gone.
So this
an all-around different team.
They're all around different, yeah. They're still good. Don't get me wrong. I told people this when they got down to 1-3 at the start of the year. I said, hold on, they're still gonna be there come playoff time, and sure enough, here they are, and they're in the second round again.
They've won 6 in a row. Definitely some momentum going for Stark County, but unfortunately for them, I think that's going to end this week when they run into Forreston. 67-0, whatever it might have been. We've been seeing this week in, week out for Forreston.
They score too fast.
They score fast. One of the fastest teams I've seen. You hand the ball to Christensen, you hand the ball to Fox, Aquin, whatever. It doesn't matter who gets the ball. Everybody can carry the load for the Cardinals. And they haven't thrown nearly at all.
29 passes on the year.
But they still can if they have to. Just an all-around great team that Forreston has. And defensively, even better yet.
Well, and that's one of the keys for Forreston. Don't let it get to your head. You need to stay focused. The reason why you need to stay focused, State's not running round 1. You got 4 more weeks to go.
Right.
And you got to take every team seriously. Case in point, the Stockton game.
Right.
I have a feeling that Stockton was slightly overlooking Salt Fork in that game. But Forreston, as long as they stay focused, I have a feeling they're not going to put up 67 points on Stark County, but they're going to floor Stark County. They're a lot faster this year than they were last year, in my opinion.
Right. I definitely want to take the Cardinals too, but back to your point, it's easy to look at our brackets here, like that, and if you're a Forreston player, be like, all right, we win. Lena Winslow's going to Stark County. They're probably going to handle that. Man, I can't wait for that rematch with Lena Winslow, even though we handled them by a score and gained them mightily on the ground and everything else. But it's like, all right, can't wait for that matchup. And then you look at teams of the past who've done that, and that might have been the case, like you said, for Stockton, and next thing you know, you're home watching the playoffs.
Yes, you got to stay focused week in, week out. And I know that Forreston isn't looking over Stark County.
Right.
I talked to a couple guys. They're definitely focused on this game because they have not seen much on Stark County outside of what they're getting ready to watch in game film and whatnot. But here's the keys for Forreston as far as their defense. If I were them, Stark County wants to run that spread offense. They're going to go trips right and keep Knobloch out by himself,
Right.
who happens to be their all-state wide receiver. More times than not, they're going to Knobloch on that one-on-one.
Rightfully so.
Yeah. What I would do is run a 4-3. The reason being, you got the outside linebacker there to help cover the flats and cover the run. You put your cornerback that's covering Knobloch on man-to-man on him. You got 2 safeties. You put one over here to play over the top on
Right.
Knobloch. You put Geip in the middle at linebacker and allow him to take away the slant while focusing on Shup up the middle. You have him focus on him. That's who he's keying on. The backside linebacker, he can cover that inside slot guy that's going to the flats. You put your other 2 corners in a somewhat zone defense on the other 2 wide receivers. And at the same time, you can kind of take a look at where Tuttle's going if he takes off on the run and hone in on that.
Right, and that's no different than any other team having a star player. Your main focus in the passing game is going to be to shut him down. You're going to want the other players to beat you. You don't want to get beat. You can deal getting beat by other players, but you can't deal with getting beat by the star player when you know that was your one job going in.
And I was looking, I've watched Stark County against Cambridge live. I saw their game against Anawa and Wethersfield, and that's exactly how Wethersfield shut Knobloch down. Man-to-man defense, head up, and a guy over top.
Yep.
Because that's where they're going to go.
Right.
The only other place they're going to go is the Knowles. Well, Knowles doesn't have the speed or the hands that Logan Knobloch has.
Right, and this will be a good test for Forreston, not necessarily in the north. Stark County is going to be your premier passing team in the north. Aquin throws the ball, but it's not going to be anything like Stark County. You look at Dakota, Ottawa, Marquette, Lena Winslow, Salt Fork, power run teams. So, this is almost a little tune-up if you can make it through the north before you get to that state game where, you can face a Tuscola team that's going to want to throw the ball, the whole option, whatever. Now, obviously, we've seen years past where weather kind of negates some of that as you get on. It gets a little colder, harder to throw the ball, whatever. But this will be a good test for Forreston's pass defense for a few weeks down the road.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's exactly what I see it as. It's a great time for Forreston to focus on that pass defense because if you get, like you said, a Tuscola who's going to spread it out. Granted, Tuscola's doing more run this year, but they're still going to throw the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
If you get a St. Teresa, maybe, or Athens is more of a power run team as well, but it's going to gear you up for them teams that can throw the ball in case that's what you see if you get that far to Champaign.
Like I said, that's just down the road, but it's definitely great to have a tune-up. All these things considered, Forreston at home, looking good. Looking forward to that potential rematch next week.
Yeah, I definitely look forward to the rematch with Lena Winslow and Forreston, provided that both of them take care of their business this week. That's what they need to focus on. Leave the looking ahead to us. You guys focus on what you need to do. But I do think that Forreston is going to tie up their little annual series with Stark County here at 2 games apiece. All right, this last game takes us down to Catlin, where Lena Winslow is looking at a 4-hour drive ahead of them. Lena Winslow comes in with the number 6 seed after they beat Bureau Valley last week, 54-14, to improve to 8-2 on the season. And Salt Fork improves to 6-4 with that number 14 seed as they upset Stockton 43-42 at John O'Boyle Field.
Yeah, and we've got that one wrong. Basically, this whole matchup we've got wrong. We picked Bureau Valley to beat Lena Winslow. We picked Stockton to beat Salt Fork, so we might as well eat our crow while we're at it. Not only did we pick against Salt Fork, we said that Stockton would just dismantle them. Did the whole little tomahawk chop thing, made complete asses out of ourselves, and basically we also had someone on here who picked Bureau Valley to win the whole darn thing. So we're looking pretty good right now.
I'm still impressed with that BV pick to state.
Yeah, that was great, wasn't it?
Good job, Greg.
But to get on point, Lena Winslow is flying high right now, playing some good ball. Salt Fork, you beat a good 9-0 team in Stockton.
Not the best NUIC team you're going to face.
Not the best NUIC team you're going to face, and you're not even going to face the best NUIC team unless you somehow beat Lena Winslow and match up with Forreston. And if that matchup were to happen, props to you guys. Lena Winslow's playing their best ball right now. For me, the only thing, I can break it down with you. We're going to get to that, but for me, the only way that I'm not going to take Lena Winslow is if that long bus ride has a serious effect on their players.
I've learned through the course of time, it's probably been 20 seasons now that Rick Aaron's been at Lena Winslow. Every year, he just keeps getting better. There's a reason why I think he's the best coach in the entire conference. Even the times I do pick against him, as I did last week, I still know that he's got the ability to make the right changes and have the right information to get the team ready to play and come out with a win, no matter how improbable that could be.
Right.
I do think that Bureau Valley was a little bit more hyped up than what they really were. Because by the looks of it, they were pretty much a one-man show, and when that one man went down, Lee Wynn took off.
Right, and we kind of, I don't know if we necessarily bought into what other people were saying about Bureau Valley and didn't do ourselves justice by really digging into the numbers on everything, but the numbers were not that great for Bureau Valley to begin with. You look at their losses, and they weren't very good.
I was just looking at their offensive stats, to be
Right.
honest, and I agree with you. I did not get as much information on Bureau Valley as I do on a lot of other matchups on my own account, because I was relying more on outside resources as they
Greg.
our track affiliates.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was impressed with Bureau Valley's offensive stats.
Right.
And the fact that they were able to throw the ball, and knowing Lena Winslow has trouble stopping the pass this year, but they have gotten a lot better defensively in the pass game. They proved that against Bureau Valley. As far as Salt Fork, they are going to be more of a power run team. Their offense runs through their quarterback and their fullback. Quarterback's going to throw a little bit. He'll take off on the run if he's flush from the pocket. They do run a QB option. They'll give the ball to the fullback. You can watch the halfback get to the outside. It's nothing flashy. It's nothing that the NUIC doesn't see on a week-in, week-out basis. And to be quite honest, Salt Fork is probably more to your tier of an upstate-type team. I really think Lena Winslow will lay the hammer to Salt Fork in Catlin on Saturday.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And just to touch up on a little bit of things here, Salt Fork, they are going to come in flying high. Okay, you went to Stockton. Okay, check one. You're playing at a very tough place to win. Check one. You beat a 9-0 team. Check two. Check three is, everybody other than us really put Stockton on a pedestal. So you know what? That can build your confidence. Hey, we beat a 9-0 NUIC team that really had their way with anybody they wanted this year. We went to Stockton, we won. All right, 8-2 Lena Winslow's coming in. How much worse could it get? It's okay to have that confidence, but I wouldn't get overconfident at this point.
Well, here's the funny thing, and I'm not going to sell Salt Fork short because they
Right.
played a hell of a ball game.
Right.
But I was talking to a couple Salt Fork people late there in the second half of their game against Stockton, and they were absolutely clueless as to who and where Lena Winslow was. I'm sorry, but if you're a 1A team, you know damn well who Lena Winslow is. You may not know where they're at, but you know who they are, you know what conference they're from.
Well, my guess is after this coming Saturday, they'll know who Lena Winslow is.
I agree with that, and I even said that myself. All right, this is going to take us down to the South Bracket, and we're going to go to Carrollton, where they play host to the number 1 seed Tuscola Warriors. Tuscola comes in this game with a 10-0 record after they beat Oblong 52-7, and Carrollton comes in with the number 9 seed and a 7-3 record after they just trashed Camp Point Central 46-0.
On paper, this looks like an interesting matchup, but I just want to throw... Our analysis on these games isn't going to be quite what it was on the previous. But I just want to throw out a couple things. Oblong played with Tuscola for a half. Let's not overlook that. It might have been, what did you say, 52-7?
52-7 was the final.
I mean, that's terrible. That's a running clock. But at halftime, it was much closer than that. Tuscola cannot afford that start at Carrollton, or Carrollton might be sending them home. But to touch on some things you said earlier, Carrollton had the athletes to run with Camp Point. Where I see the problem for Carrollton is Tuscola is going to have matching athleticism to shut Carrollton down.
And more physicality.
Right.
I think Tuscola is much more physical than what Carrollton is. They both run a spread offense. Tuscola will run a power run game as well this year. And I just think that Tuscola is going to blow Carrollton off the offensive and defensive lines.
Yeah, I like Tuscola in this game as well. Number 1 seed taking care of business.
Yep. Next matchup is going to take us to Hardin, where the Calhoun Warriors are going to play host to Red Hill. Red Hill comes in with the number 13 seed and a 6-4 record after they upset Decatur Lutheran last week 20-7. And Hardin Calhoun comes in as the 12th seed with a 7-3 record after they upset Arcola 8-0 last week in a game that was very close. Won in the fourth quarter. It looks like it appears to be on a fumble return for a touchdown and subsequent 2-point conversion.
Yeah, we looked at that Red Hill Decatur Lutheran game, and we picked Red Hill because we felt that they played a tougher competition. Lutheran hadn't really played anybody, so that's not a surprise that Red Hill won that game. Where you said is Arcola losing 8-0, fumble recovery, 2-point conversion, suddenly the game's over and your season's over. I had Arcola in the quarterfinals matchup with Tuscola for a Cola War, but that obviously doesn't appear like it's going to happen. But for me, I think Hardin Calhoun's luck runs out this week, and I'm going to take Red Hill.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks to be you to pick Arcola.
Yeah,
I mean, I had him winning to go the second round, but I'm sticking with my pick here that I had in the quarters all along. I like Red Hill. They're going up against Calhoun. Calhoun's got a good team coming out of the WIVC, same area as Carrollton, Brown County, Camp Point Central, them guys. But as much as they've improved, Red Hill still has played better competition than what Hardin Calhoun has played this year. I like Red Hill in this game. This takes us into Athens, where the Warriors are going to play host to the Decatur St. Teresa Bulldogs. St. Teresa comes in as the number 2 seed and a 9-1 record after they beat Toledo Cumberland last week 54-20. And Athens comes in with that 7-3 record after they beat Pawnee 60-22 in a game that many thought Pawnee could compete in. Not that case in point.
Yeah, we picked Athens. We like what they're doing. Definitely a team that some have even picked to go to state. I didn't pick them to go to state. I didn't even pick them to win this game. But, the more we break things down and look at St. Teresa, what'd you say that score was? 54-20.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly... I apologize. I didn't do my research on this. I'm not exactly sure at what point they gave up the 20 points. But if that 20 points was given up and it wasn't a running clock, that's concerning for me. And I can see why people would take Athens in this, and I myself am questioning why I'm even taking St. Teresa at this point. St. Teresa suffered that loss against Tuscola. They were the number 1 ranked team until then. Everybody said, next year they'll be a 3 or 4A school. They're just going to roll through 1A. And then Tuscola proves them wrong. And, we can all go back to how far they were actually going to get, the whole north versus south thing, what the competition is. I mean, there's a lot of factors here. Athens is playing good ball. St. Teresa might not be at this point. I'm going to throw you for a curveball. I don't have it on paper, but I'll pick Athens.
Here's the thing that I like about Athens. They go in and play Pawnee in Pawnee. People are trying to talk Pawnee up as being this decent team, thinking that they can play at the physical level as Athens, who comes out of a 2A, 3A conference in the Sangamo. I'm sorry, but obviously Athens put up a running clock on Pawnee. Their last 2 scores were actually scored when the subs were in. I know that for a fact. Like you said, I'm not sure where St. Teresa gave up that 20 points, if it was after a running clock or whatnot. I'm not even going to look into that.
Because it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. They won big. That's what matters.
Right.
But what I do know is this. St. Teresa and Athens are both very athletic teams. Teresa was absolutely throttled by Tuscola with domination on the line play. They got absolutely manhandled. Athens is going to do the exact same thing to St. Teresa. That's why I would pick Athens in this matchup. Alright, this brings us to our last game down here in Class 1A, where we have Brown County coming in with the number 6 seed, traveling to Warrensburg to face Warrensburg Latham with the number 14 seed. Brown County comes in with an 8-2 record after they beat Greenfield Northwestern 26-7, and Warrensburg Latham comes in with a 6-4 record after they pulled the upset off of Argento Oriana 32-30. How do you like this matchup here, Shane?
Well, to back up just a little bit, I think you picked Warrensburg.
I did. You're correct.
Yeah, stroke it a little more.
Yes.
I did not pick Warrensburg to win this game. But they beat a good Argento team. It all goes back to who played who. Warrensburg played Tuscola, St. Teresa, a little higher competition. But Brown County, I think, is just going to be able to beat them where you need to. Line play, athleticism, moving the ball. I like Brown County in this game. Warrensburg's had a good season, but I think it runs out here.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Brown County, and, they had the loss to Mendon Unity. They lost to Camp Point Central, who just got throttled by Carrollton. I cannot remember if Brown County played Carrollton this year in the regular season in a crossover matchup. But, needless to say, Warrensburg Latham did play Tuscola and St. Teresa, like you said, got absolutely murdered. Brown County runs an offense that me and you are both very familiar with. They like that wing T, multi-option offense. I do like Brown County in this matchup, just for the fact that I think they're going to have a little bit more to take on Warrensburg with. I know that they're kind of borderline down in the passing. I wish I knew more of what Warrensburg actually has for offensive schemes outside of the fact that they play in the CIC. But I do like Brown County for the fact that they have that wing T offense. And this late in the year, winds start rolling, especially in Central Illinois, and I know because I've lived there before. If they're a passing team, it's going to be hard to throw the ball down there, man. So, Brown County.
Brown County.
Alright, so that gives you our round 2 matchups and predictions. This week we're going to be able to cover 2 of the 4 NUIC games. We're going to be able to get to Ottawa for their game against Dakota, and then we'll be back up here for the Forreston matchup with Stark County. Really, it worked out great with the Ottawa game, Dakota game being played at 1 o'clock, and Forreston and Stark County agreeing to that 6 o'clock start.
Right, Stockton, sorry. Forreston, Stockton. Forreston likes those evening games. We mentioned it when we first signed on. 4 NUIC teams, not playing NUIC teams. We like our chances. Would be great to cover 2 quarterfinal games next week of all 4 NUIC teams guaranteeing a spot at state. Looking forward to this week, though.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope that all 4 of you guys win this week, regardless of who gets to state. As long as we get all 4 into the quarters, best of luck to all 4 of you.
Right.
I hope you all do great, and we really want to see a lot of coverage moving forward.
Exactly.
We're excited, as everyone probably is starting to get excited, especially looking at the brackets the way they're lined up.
Right.
So that's where we're heading this week. Hope to see you out at the games, and as always, root for the NUIC.